for fall. It's like 100
Welcome,
degrees.
everybody, to Next Gen Leadership Live. I'm your host, Jimmy Ryan, and we're momentum builder all out today. I mean,
We're
what's
vibing.
up?
I
Yeah,
think
I'm definitely.
I should have worn black and red. I'll work on it.
Yeah,
I'm just wearing
it's
a
all
hoodie.
good. Today we're going to get right to it. We're talking about what are we letting go of, and really what do we need to make room for that we need to let go of. And I think that this is a talk that all of us have been talking about just indirectly on a lot of different levels. And maybe it's mental health, maybe it's business health, maybe it could be a lot of different things that we need to let go of, but it does require discipline to do that. And that's our opening, Gino. What's up? And by the way, I want to welcome Gino and Sasha to the call. What's up, guys?
What's up, Jimmy? Yeah, I mean, look, I think when Sasha brought up this subject, I had to think about it for a minute, because I think what it really comes down to is nobody likes to feel overwhelmed. That feeling is terrible. I mean, the only time that I get super frustrated with my job or my life, and it's very rare, is when I feel like I'm giving it everything I can and I'm still letting people down. That feeling is terrible. It's absolutely terrible. You're not getting back to your clients. You're not getting back to your partners. You're not doing what you said you would, which was like show number 1. We talked about integrity. So when those things converge, it's because you haven't said no to enough things and you kind of were a yes person. So, Sasha, if you could help me, like, how do we fix it if we've already gotten ourselves into this pickle?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I feel like there's a couple of ways to answer it. And it's interesting because I was thinking ahead of today, what would my answer be to, like, if Jimmy was like, name one thing you're letting go of, right? And it was going to be expectations. And it's good to have expectations in certain areas, right? There's a reason we have goals. Like, we all have jobs, we have metrics that we need to hit, but expectations from others create disappointment, because we are literally setting ourselves up to be disappointed because we are never going to be able to meet someone's expectations. And it falls into that same category as, like, you just saying, like, if I commit to too much, I'm going to let people down, right? You've set the expectation that you can do all these different things, and immediately you've said yes to too many things. And so I think one of the critical things to do, and we've talked about this before, which is good because we have to be reminded, is to go through and look at a couple of things. One is, what are you doing right now today that you need to start doing, stop doing, keep doing to help reprioritize? And the higher up we go and the longer that we're alive, I feel like the more reprioritization becomes a necessity every day, if not multiple times a day. And so going through that list helps you then reprioritize. On the emotional side, it's reframing for yourself, I am not emotionally responsible for anyone but myself. So even though I might overcommit, I might have set an expectation and miscommunicated and somebody interpreted it the wrong way, and then I don't live up to that, whatever it might be, how Gino responds to that is not my responsibility. My emotional well-being is my responsibility. And those two things are critical because they're very different. One is more logical, practical, put a practice in place. And the other is more mindset, psyche, understanding, like the shift that we have to have. Because I think we've taught people in society, like, I have to be perfect and I have to have it all together and I have to make everybody happy and it all has to be like great all the time. And it's like, no, that's impossible.
Yeah, I think that we do put heavy expectations on others and on ourselves. I mean, so for me, that's a quandary because I feel like it is my job to have expectations of everyone on my team, and it's my job to push them beyond what they think they can do. So the only way I can do that is set up expectations for them that are possibly unattainable so that they could push towards those expectations. But then if they fall flat, I can't be angry. I have to be supportive. I have to make sure that they know that it's okay that you didn't hit the goal, but hey, let's try harder next month. What did we do wrong? How can we adjust? So this is really a talk about adjusting things. Like you said, I think let's go back to our old theme from last year is reboot. I think a lot of us have passed. We've now passed the morning state for the industry. Most of us are already on offense, or at least those that are winning are on offense. So it's like, how do I get the clear state of mind and make sure there's no one on my team that's still stuck in the doldrums, right? Like there can't be one person still stuck in the past. So I will say that, if you looked at my LinkedIn, I reposted a Gary Vee post, because he was saying, if you don't want to have disappointment, don't have any expectations of other humans.
Mhm.
And I'm like, yeah, but that's a shitty way to live. Like that's not necessarily a good way to live. I mean, I want to have
Drop all
expectations.
mindfulness around it and don't be thoughtful to it and don't be self-aware. It just means don't create a box that is impossible to live in. Right? Like you can't control, like, can you control whether your loan officers sell, $1 million in a month?
No,
No. Can you give them the tools, the resources, the support to do it? Coach them
exactly.
there. And then if they don't, let them feel that failure and let them learn from it, whether it was because it was just bad circumstances, things got pushed into the next month, or whether they actually didn't do what they were supposed to do to help move the needle forward. Like that's the difference, right? And it's such a nuanced gray area. But if we pay attention to, yes, be mindful, yes, be aware, but set up some boundaries for yourself so that you're not so attached to and so illusionary to this idea that we can control the outcome, because we can't.
So
Yeah, I
when we're
think
letting go and choosing what we're going to put in and fill in the gaps, how do we choose? What's the best way? What do we choose to put in the place? Because in a lot of ways, you can't just have a void of something. Sometimes you need to also fill it with something else, and professionally and personally. How do
well,
you decide?
I want to jump on the things that I've already let go of. So, years ago, I was feeling overwhelmed. I was working 80 hours a week. Still couldn't satisfy everybody. It was super difficult. And then I went and I saw Darren Hardy, and he was talking about how negative TV and the news is. So I let go of TV completely. Like I have no clue what's going on TV. I don't know about any of the cool shows. I don't know. And it's a little weird sometimes when people are like, "Oh my God, did you see this last night?" I'm like, "No, I didn't." And it just doesn't form a part of my life. So I'm sorry. I'm never going to. But I let go of TV completely. That's something I let go of. And I'm going to say I let go of 80 to 85% of sports. Okay, so those are big, giant things you can get rid of in your life that will help you with time management, because you'd be shocked how many hours you're spending with those two things. I mean, I'm watching. Look, I know the Dodgers are in the playoffs. You know what the extent of me watching is? All I want to do is find out if they won or lost. I don't want to watch a 4-hour game. I don't have 4 hours to give to the Dodgers. I'm not getting one penny, and it doesn't make my life any better. Now, if it's on a Sunday afternoon and we're going to go to the game and it's going to be an experience, that's awesome. But I just don't do dumb TV. So I let go of that completely, and I think it's helped my life significantly to time manage the things that are important to me better.
I think to
It's
answer
kind
your
of
question,
addicting too. The television's addicting. So is sports. It's like it kind of like it really is, and you have to let go of it.
Yeah,
And I,
I'm not at
I've done the
0
same
hours.
thing.
I'm like probably at like 3 hours a week, which is nothing.
we're also
Right.
human. We're allowed to ebb and flow. There might be times in your
Yeah.
life where like you need to binge watch on Netflix, and that's okay. And there might be other times where you're like, okay, this is getting a little out of hand. I need to like rein it in, right? Rein it in. And I always
Awareness is important with that, Sasha, though.
like that.
Awareness of that is important.
Yeah, the self-awareness piece is so critical, which is why you check in with yourself and do that reprioritization. And the general, this is where I was going to go with answering your question, Jimmy. Like it or hate it, my practice, take it or leave it, is practical plus ethereal. So like the practical is I'm going to, and it's both in the letting go and the, if I'm going to put anything in that space or if I'm going to leave that space open, because sometimes blank space, open space is good for multiple reasons, right? You just
It
leave it
gives me
open.
anxiety.
Spontaneity comes in, right? Or maybe I just need to breathe and I'm not creating enough room for me to breathe and have a moment to just sit and be okay with doing nothing. We're in this society that tells us do, create. And it's like, well, sometimes it's okay just not to. So back to the practical ethereal, the practical side on the letting go is making the list of things that I don't think are serving me any longer, or that are feel like vampire suckers. They're like draining the energy out of me. Also, paying attention to what's trying to let go of you. things are very clear, and we just don't always look and pay attention to the things that are so hard, and we're just like a salmon swimming upstream, and like maybe the universe is trying to say like that's not meant for you. Maybe it's time to let that one go. So like that too. And then on the to-do list, again, make my list of things of like, hey, I'd be a lot healthier if I cut, soda out of my life. I'm just making it up. I don't actually drink soda very often. Or, if I ate less sugar or whatever it might be. And so you like make your list. And then I go into the ethereal part, which is like gut check, right? Listen, your body, your mind, your spirit, like they know best. If you just give yourself a minute to be quiet, to be still, to go inward and to listen and let that, and I call it more ethereal because I do think a lot of people struggle with this piece of it. But
what's ethereal? What's ethereal? Am I
a little bit more spiritual, like a little bit harder to define? You can't put parameters around it. Like it's the unspoken, the unknown, the mysterious part of life. But again, those like guideposts that we have, the little pings we get in our gut or the inner voice that we hear. And for the record, those that think the inner voice is crazy, sometimes I need expert advice. And so I do listen to myself. Thank you very much. But those things, right? And it's like, let those take over a little bit too, because sometimes we get so stuck in the mind and we don't let the heart and the gut come into play. And I do think our intuition and our heart have to have a space in that too.
Yeah. When you're doing wrong.
I don't leave a lot of space. I try. Empty space gives me anxiety. So
maybe that's something to pay attention to, Gino.
Well, so I started, this is going to okay, now we're going to go down this rabbit hole of the ethereal and all that so I started meditating because of that. And I had always put meditation and, you get this thing, you're whatever. Listen, it has nothing to do with that. Like it's nothing to do with it. Don't think of meditation like this Buddhist monk that you saw sitting with his legs crossed and holding his hands together for 6 years. Like, so to me, meditation, I've had a lot of help, and I'll throw a shout out to the Headspace app because it made it simple. I may not be the highest form of meditation, but a couple of the tips and tricks that I learned have actually helped me navigate my day, even while in total consciousness and awake and not trying to breathe special or do anything. Just a simple thing that it was teaching me was when a thought comes to mind, if you don't want to deal with it right now, just say noted. And just tell your mind, okay, I got you. I heard you, but I'm going to put that aside right now. And that simple, stupid little thing has been so helpful for me. I only learned this like 5 weeks ago, and I'm using it all the time. I'm like, because my brain's very busy. I have ADD, ADHD, whatever you want to call it. It's very, very busy in there. And so it really was helpful for me to say, hey, I got you, but I'm not going to go jump on that right now. I'm going to stay on what I'm at. But my brain was deceived into thinking just because I noted it, that someday I'll get to it. So I don't know. Little things that I'm learning along the way in this improving myself thing. Because the more I improve,
my comfort zone. I'm so proud of you.
Way outside my comfort zone.
Oh yeah. Good for you.
Oh, I listened to Sleepscapes, little nighttime stories about, because I want to sleep.
Lavender fields. Or do you listen to Matthew McConaughey's deep sexual, sorry, that's terrible, voice?
No, I listen to raindrops and I listen to rivers running and I listen to stuff like that when I'm sleeping. And listen, I've been able to sleep through the night without waking up. So to me, that's a huge win. If you're able to sleep through the night without waking up, that makes everything better the next day.
And look, it's probably not practical for you, honestly, Gino, to take a full day 100% off. And with all the things you have going on, truly. And I mean, like, it can be that way when you have a marriage, you have kids, you have houses, you have businesses, you have momentum builder, you have all these things. And it's just like, it's kind of like it's really not practical to be like, okay, I'm just going to take the day off and just, have a beer and watch Netflix and chill.
But on that note, I did a Sunday. I took about 3 hours and did nothing. Like that's about how much I can tolerate, is about 3 hours of nothingness before I go, shit, I really got to go do this. And I really got to go do that. But it's, and following what you were talking about, Sasha, I really followed my gut. Like I woke up that morning and I said, the first thing I'm going to do is my taxes. That's exciting. So then I went downstairs, I had coffee, I was getting myself all prepped and ready to do my taxes. And then I sat on the couch and I said, you know what? I just don't feel it right now. I'm going to just chill for a little bit.
Yeah,
and I just wasn't feeling it. I wasn't doing it. And I chilled for 2 or 3 hours, and then I got bored chilling because that's what happens to me. That's why I keep creating shit, because I get bored chilling. And
But you can't be on
now that I don't drink, I
100% of the
can't
time.
fill that space with alcohol, because if I filled that space with alcohol, then we could chill a lot. And so I took the 3 hours, and then when I grabbed my laptop, instead of coming upstairs here to the office, to the home office, I grabbed my laptop and brought it to the couch, and that made my interaction with my tax return much more casual. I mean, those little things, it doesn't sound like it makes a difference, but just the fact that I was sitting on my couch is so much more comfortable than sitting in my office chair, which I'm at 60 hours a week anyway. So a change of venue.
Yep.
And after a little brain break, I was prepared to do what I needed to do. And I literally knocked out the taxes in like an hour and a half, like everything I had to handle. And I was super happy. And the rest of the evening was great, so I could have a nice dinner. And I got done what I needed to get done. I squeezed in a little bit of rest. I listened to my body when my body was saying, don't you dare go straight to work. Like, I felt like I was a win. I felt like, this week was a win for me. I traveled a lot over the last couple of weeks and fell behind, quite frankly. And so I had to go very, very aggressively on the last 3 or 4 days. And Sunday, I was just like, I'm spent. I need those 3 hours to reset.
And what if you were to build a daily practice so that your body didn't tell you need 3 hours to reset on a Sunday?
Well, I did actually. So when I'm home, one of the non-negotiables that I changed earlier this year as well was I do not have any meetings before 9 o'clock. That's something that I changed in my life. I have one meeting every other week that I can't help. But other than that, no. Katie has specific instructions, no meeting before 9 a.m. And what does that do? That allows me to be the best form of me by 9 a.m. that I can be. That means I've been outside and taken in some sun. That means I had my morning mushroom coffee. That means I went to the gym. That means I took the kids to school if they needed to go to school. That means that I had some family time. I've spent a couple of minutes with my wife in the morning. So for me, all those things relieves anxiety when I get into my workday at 9 a.m. because I've already had a great start.
You created space.
Yeah. So that's what this is all about, right? Is how do you create space? It's little things. That's the other thing I wanted to say. It's little things. It's not big things. It's 1,000 small adjustments, because if you're overwhelmed and you're feeling like you've got too much on you, it's probably death by 1,000 pricks.
Yeah, and a lot of times you just have to, like you're saying, do your taxes. Okay. Whoa, this is way too overwhelming right now. I need to chill. But then you chilled for a second, and then you cracked open your laptop. You took that first little step, and then you're done in an hour and a half. My brother, your taxes have got to be more complicated than an hour and a half.
No. I had done the 14 entities that I run over the last 2 months. So that was the heavy lift. This was just the needs list to finish my personal returns, which is just a result of all the business returns. But there was still a needs list. So you have to put on your auditor hat and you have to go look at all your W-2s. And so here's a tax hack for everybody. At the end of the year, if you have very complex taxes, if you have easy taxes, forget it. But if you have complex taxes, order a wage transcript on yourself from the IRS. Mine was about 36 pages. And then go through it one by one and say, did I address this on my return? And you could just check off all the boxes. And so it was an easy to-do list. I just followed the 36 pages. I checked off each one of those. I said, yes, I addressed this. Yes, I addressed this. Yes, I addressed it. Oh, I need that. Oh, I didn't get that one. Let me go grab it. Go log into Charles Schwab, log into Robinhood, wherever it is you have to log in and grab the documents you need. So that's how I was trying to organize that on a Sunday.
But what you just said is completely overwhelming and crazy and chaotic. And oh my God, 14 entities. Like, you just said all that and just rolled it up. That, oh yeah, no big deal. I just did this. I logged in. I ordered a wage transcript. But the thing is that you have a list that's not a taxes, where it's just like, holy shit, this is so overwhelming. Because if it is that, you won't get started and you'll just be in that overwhelmed state. But if you can just take it in bite-sized pieces like you did, I think that's, if people hear nothing else from this, I would hear that. Like, what are you letting go of? What are you making space for? Well, first, let's get done with the things we need to get done and not be so damn overwhelmed, so that you can actually enjoy that space that you have.
So something I'm not doing yet, and Sasha, I'm curious, are you a Mel Robbins fan at all, Sasha?
I am.
Okay. Have you used the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method?
I have not. I don't use it frequently. I do box breathing more than I do that, but I have used it before, and I did shout out to sorry PRMG Supreme Sales Rally had her speak a few years ago, and then she gave away her book, and that was where I first learned about her and that method, and then all the stuff that they've done with veterans with PTSD. But so I know it's effective, and I know there's science behind it, but I don't use it often, but I have.
Yeah. And so for me, it's my calendar is what makes me tick. So I put everything on my calendar. I don't have a separate to-do list. My calendar is my to-do list.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's very simple. My ADHD is completely controlled because I don't have to think about what to do next. It's already on my calendar. It tells me what to do next. So I put everything on my calendar. It is my to-do list. And the night before, I always pick the one, we talked earlier this week, Sasha, you and I had an interaction on socials where I was talking about the 1-3-5 method. Right. One big thing, three medium things, and 5 small things. I don't always make a list of the small things, but I do always make a list of, for me, I don't do 1-3, I do 1-2. I do the one thing I must do today that I know is going to mean that I was successful. And then 2 things I'd like to get done. That's kind of how I do it. The 5 I never get to. That my 5 is 500. I have to do 1 million of those little things. So it's just really 1 + 2 for me.
Right, the systems and the structures and the discipline that work for you. And I think that's what you were hitting on, Jimmy, before. And I think it's just a matter of you got to try a few on for size and figure out what works for you. And once you find something that works, and you got to give it enough of a try, but once you've given it enough of a try and it works for you, then you have to make it a habit, right? And they say 21 days consistently of something, now it's a habit. So if
there's something on that, by the way. Depends how bad the habit is if you're trying to break it. It could be much longer than 21 days.
Okay, fine. Don't quote me on it.
You've been drinking for 40 years. It's probably going to take more than 21 days to stop drinking.
Fine. Do it this way. I always use the moon cycle. Like let a whole month go by, let a moon cycle go by when you're trying something new, when you're making a big decision, right? Whatever it is, like give yourself a month for those bigger things, because it takes time for us to change. And it also takes time for us to think about making life changes.
All right, guys, we're wrapping it up. We're past time. I want to thank everybody for joining us. And hey, if you liked this, if you hated this, give us a comment. Let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Don't be so shy. Don't be a stranger. Don't make space between us. Come closer. Talk to us.
Just tell us we're absolutely crazy. We're fine with that.
We already know that.
Tell me you don't like my momentum builder gear. Don't tell me that. I'm not going to like that. I'm not going to like that. I'm not going to like that. All right, Gino, great stuff. Sasha, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you guys. And this has been Next Gen Leadership Live. Thank you all for joining us. We will see you next week.
Have a great week.
Yeah.